Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back for episode 4. Yes, I said it correctly. Episode 4 of the One-on-Ones podcast on the Field of 12 Media Network, presented by Bet River Sportsbook. Co-hosted by myself and my partner in crime, Cody Sensabaugh, a teammate of mine, a guy I actually played against in the league as well. Cody, how you doing this week, bro?
I'm good, my brother. How you doing, man? It was good to somewhat see the ACC bounce back a little bit, man. How you doing? I know your Atlanta Falcons got busted, man. It's crazy. We had Davon on last week, and he told us he was shooting for 10 sacks on the season, and he got 2 already.
Bro, listen, man. Javon Hargrove, man, he was a monster on Sunday. A monster on Sunday. He had 2 sacks. I think he may have had 3.5 TFLs, tackles for loss as well. And then I think he had also like 3 quarterback hits. So he was all over the field on Sunday, man.
Hey, man, listen here. I know we're not here to talk about the NFL, but one thing I will say that I liked about your Atlanta Falcons, when they put Cordell Patterson as the running back, I like that game.
He wasn't playing with him.
I like that. I like that.
And I like it when they do it like 22 personnel, man, when you have like 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, 1 receiver in the game, because you can literally put Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson at the running back position, and Cordell played receiver as well. And then you have Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst at the tight end position. So it's like you don't have a drop off if you want to go 12 or 11 personnel, being in 22 personnel with the guys that they have and able to do it as well. So it's dope for the Falcons to have that personnel on hand.
Falcons have everything they need to be successful on offense. They just need some more continuity and some reps together. Once they get that, they are going to be hell to deal with because they have weapons at every angle you turn.
Yes, sir. Now, Cody's talking about the NFL, but we gonna jump to the college football game, the ACC to be exact. And the first team we're gonna talk about, we're gonna recap some of the games from this past weekend before we get into some of the premier matchups this week. But we got to go to Boston College. Boston College was a team I was high on, Cody, coming into this season. Quarterback Phil Jikovich. I really like what he brought to the game and to the table, but Boston College ran into an issue. They rolled in week 2, but it came at a price, Cody. Mm-hmm. Quarterback Phil Jikovich injured his hand, wrist, whichever one it is, had to leave the game. And they don't know if he's going to be back for 2021. So that's not good. But the backup quarterback, Dennis Grosso, came into the game for against UMass and actually delivered for the team. Had 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. But, man, being a former receiver and understanding that they have Zay Flowers and a lot of more other guys that can play the game of football at the wide receiver position, I'm like, dang, man, we didn't lost our number 1 guy. So Cody, go into the mindset of a player, man, when on a team when you lose your number 1 QB, man. What's the feeling in the locker room usually like that?
It's somewhat of excitement because the number 1 QB is the number 1 QB for a reason, but you also have to look at it from the other side and like the guy behind him, he's there in that position at that school for a reason. So you have to get as much info on him as you can. But if he doesn't have film, it's kind of like going into an opening season game against a new quarterback. You don't know what he's capable of. And with the way the college game is now, most teams have quarterbacks that resemble each other in their skill sets. But then you look at some universities and the 2 guys is completely opposite. So it's one of those things. If I was a corner going into the game, especially against Zay Flowers, first of all, I would back up. First off, he is special. But I would back up to see where the quarterback's arm strength is. I would try to get a feel for it in pregame warmups. I would have some of our GAs or guys that don't play as much on the field to kind of like, yo, look over there and see what kind of throws he's making, see what type of zip he has on it. How is his deep ball? And I would judge it based off of that because you know what you're getting with Zay Flowers. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good the quarterback is. If they can't get it to Zay Flowers, he can't be Zay Flowers. So I would need to see more from the quarterback. I would not fear him, but I would also give him respect. I would find a thin line in between that. How would you approach that as a receiver going in with your backup quarterback?
Well, first thing for me, from a receiver standpoint, I need to see if me and this guy can get on the same page to back up quarterback. I'm doing everything in my power. Hey, let's get these reps in practice. If we don't hit on something, sometimes if you don't hit on something in practice, that's going to be in the game with your number one quarterback, you don't necessarily all the time have to go back and redo it. Sometimes you do. But if I have a backup quarterback that's going to be playing in the game and we don't hit on something, oh, no. Hey, coach, do you mind if we go back and get that? I want him to see us hitting on this so he has that confidence in the game. And it's funny, man, that you explain to the people from a DB's perspective, right? Been on the opposite side facing a backup quarterback. Let me tell you what happened to me in college, Cody. We were playing West Virginia, right? Playing West Virginia. We didn't mess around and knock their quarterback out of the game. So you want to know who came in? Pat White. Pat White came in at quarterback, and that started everything with West Virginia, Pat White, and Steve Slayton. Them boys came back. They was running that zone read option, whatever they called, whatever they was doing, and we couldn't stop it. And on with Pat White and on with Steve Slayton to have a hell of a career at the college level. And so I know what it's like.
I guarantee you that quarterback that got hurt never got his job back.
Never.
And that's why you have to be careful when you're in this game of football, because more than likely there's a dog waiting, and it somehow comes about in the craziest way. Sometimes it's injuries. Sometimes it's getting into it with the coach. Sometimes it's grades. It's so many different ways it can come about that can just truly, truly, truly give a dog his just due and can put you on the pine. I mean, look at the situation with the Denver Broncos and Ronald Darby. Great player, just so happened to get hurt.
That young buck behind the way.
And now Patrick Surtain is thrown into the game, and
yep.
I mean, he's the top 10 pick for a reason. They want to see him on the field. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Darby may be on a 1-year deal, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me.
And I'll say another time it happened to me at the NFL level. We went into Washington to play Washington, and our linebacker, Sean Witherspoon, and knocked RG3 out of the game. Mm-hmm. You want to know who came in?
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. We like, okay, dang. We really finna blow him out now, man. Kirk Cousins came in that thing and threw a touchdown pass that's Santana Moss. Mm-hmm. I said, hold on, man. Who is this guy?
And they have two opposite styles. So it's no way to prepare for that unless you had a history of playing him maybe in college, because it probably wasn't that much film on him. So that's why it's that thin line between not fearing them, but also respecting them, because they're at that level for a reason.
Yep. So back to Boston College, man. Boston College actually pulled out that victory, man. They had one of their running backs, Garwo, go over 150 yards. Travis Levy, he had 43 yards, 1 touchdown, 6.1 yards per carry, but he also had a kick return for a touchdown. And then they had a fumble punt return for a touchdown. So Boston College doing it on special teams, transfer from Jacksonville State University, Trey Berry, a guy I was high on, especially at the tight end position. I'm losing Hunter Long, but they brought him in. He had a big day catching the football. Zay Flowers, we already know is special, but that defense, man, got 2 turnovers, 2 interceptions by one of the guys that I'm high on in the secondary, Sebastian, and another guy, DeBerry. So shout out to that defense and special teams. That's why people say, man, you got to be good in all 3 phases, because Boston College did enough offensively, even with their starting quarterback being out, but they did it on special teams and they did it on defense as well. And that's why they actually scored 2 touchdowns on special teams. And I'll tell you this, if you can score 2 touchdowns on special teams, or 1 touchdown on special team and 1 touchdown on defense, the chances of you winning that football game are going to be, well, what Goody Mom say? Sky high, sky high, sky high. Touch what I never touched before, seen what I never seen before, woke up and seen the sun, sky high, sky. Your chances of winning are going to be sky high.
That's a fact, man. That's why they're so important. And as a defense, I mean, if you can get 1 turnover, that's great. But once you get 2 or any more, you playing with house money. It's on in. You rocking, So shout out to Boston College. And as the ACC, man, we need every single win we can get, no matter who it's against. So shout out to Boston College for sure.
Now I want to move along to another game this weekend. And I know it was going to be lopsided. We all knew it was going to be lopsided before the game actually took place. That was Clemson beating South Carolina State 49-3. But for me, I wanted to see how this offense, how this quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, I wanted to see how they were going to respond to adversity. And I got to be honest, I'm still a little iffy about Clemson because I still don't see their offense making the proper progressions, right? I understand they're going to be okay defensively, but I need for them offensively to start clicking so they can start making that noise and looking prominent on offense like we're accustomed to seeing in years prior to this year.
I liked what I seen from the run game. Obviously, it was against an inferior opponent. That's no disrespect to South Carolina State, but Clemson's just a more talented team. So it was good to see them stick with the run. But something that concerns me with Clemson's offense, for as talented as their receiver room is, they're all the same exact guy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say they're the same exact guy, you touched on that the very first episode. They're big guys that play basketball and they'll out rebound you, and there's no little pissants. I think that room is missing some smaller, shifty, quicker guys to create more space. Because if you look at it, all the guys that are on the field, they're taller, they're long, they're big body guys, and I see them. They can go up top, they can catch screens and break tackles, but it's that intermediate game I think they're missing to help them move the chains on third and medium.
And I think they're going to understand that and see that. I think Tony Elliott, Dabo Swinney is going to try to find ways to work Spectre in even more and give him an opportunity to step up in that slot and create those mismatches that you may want, man. Because it's times now I'm seeing it, and Cody, it's so unsound football to me. I'm seeing too many times at the college football level, safeties guarding receivers. Not only safeties guarding receivers, but linebackers guarding receivers. But not only linebackers and safeties guarding receivers, linebackers and safeties are guarding number 1 and number 2 receivers on teams. And it's crazy to me because I was taught, listen, son, if you let a safety or a linebacker guard you, son, take our damn uniform off and don't bring your ass back in this game. Don't bring your ass is done on the team. Don't come back. Take our uniform off, go in the locker room, and don't come back if you let a safety or a linebacker guard you. I'm seeing it entirely too much in college football.
And the saddest part about that, bro, is those teams are getting beat off a straight scheme and not talent.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
hard as a former player to watch because it's you're not giving your guys the best chance to win. You're not putting them in a position to be successful.
That's
And
right.
that's hard to watch because like times is different now because everybody wears the vapors and everybody wears the speed cleats because it's a wide open game now. But it's a reason why linebackers normally wear bigger cleats. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not doing all that running. I understand the game is in space now, but there's no way in hell a linebacker should be on any receiver because if he's on that receiver and covering him, he's either a Ryan Shazier, Telvin Smith type of player, or that receiver shouldn't be on the field. It's just it's common sense. So I hate watching that, man. It's tough because, like you said, it's very unsound. And just being completely honest, anybody can get out there and create that matchup if you're a defensive coordinator. You guys are getting paid a lot of money to do that. Like, we need to figure something else out, you know?
Facts. Facts. There's little nuggets, man, for me, myself, Harry Douglas, Cody Sensabaugh. We played in the NFL. We played the game for a long time. And some things we see on football fields right now are just aren't sound football. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time because they're offering $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Play Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With football season kicking off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, Cody, I want to move it to another team that I think is really, really struggling right now in the ACC, and that's the Miami Hurricanes, right? They struggled to beat App State, right? In this game, the Canes had to rely on the run game. But when I'm looking at De'Aaron King right now in 2 games only has 1 touchdown pass, 2 interceptions. That is crazy insane to me. But he was actually able to make plays with his leg. Cameron Harris had over 100 yards in this last football game as well. But something isn't clicking in Miami. And Manny Diaz, you're the head coach. It's your job to figure out how to get the best out of your team, out of each individual, out of the offense as a unit, defense as a unit, special teams as a unit, as a team whole, as a whole. It's your job to figure it out. But right now, in my eyes, when I'm watching Miami, things aren't clicking in Miami right now.
Mm-hmm.
They just aren't. They just aren't clicking.
It's,
And I'll say this. I thought Miami was going to lose that football game. If it wasn't for that late drive that De'Aaron King led them to, so their field goal kicker can actually kick the game with a field goal, who I think right now is the brightest spot for their team is their field goal kicker.
mm-hmm.
But luckily they came out with a win, but I don't know, man. They got a tough one this weekend too. What you think about Miami, man?
Man, I agree completely with you. We said from the beginning, in order for them to compete with Alabama, and this is just Alabama, we understand who they are. In order for Miami to be successful, De'Aaron King has to be the best player on the field week in and week out. And I haven't
100%.
seen, and this is no knock on him because we know what he's capable of.
Facts.
But like you said, the kicker, number 5, I don't know if he's a outside linebacker or a DN. I'm not well versed in Miami scheme. I haven't seen enough of them because they move guys around. Number 5 and the corner, I think it is number 2. They've been the best players I've seen for Miami. And with all due respect to Appalachian State, I was committed there. You have to put those guys away early because the longer you play around with them, it gives them confidence. Because a lot of those guys that are on that roster, they are one decision away from somebody not choosing to go to your school, from being at that possible school and getting an opportunity just like I did. I mean, look
100%.
at the quarterback, Chase Bryce. He is a Clemson recruit and left because who he was there with, whether it was Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Kelly Bryant. I mean, the room was stacked, so he did what's best for him.
Yep.
And he showed a lot of poise and a lot of tenacity because he almost led those boys to victory on the road in a primetime game. And it was close. It could have went either way. It was literally a coin toss. One or two plays the other way, and it would have been a completely different outcome.
And I'm up sitting up here thinking about, I'm like, man, if Miami would have lost this football game, they would have been on Manny Diaz's head. They still are on Manny Diaz's head right now. But you lose to Alabama, which, okay, people are going to understand you're losing to Alabama in week 1. But you come back week 2,
right,
and then you lose to App State, that would have been rough. And for Miami, right, when you get beat by Alabama, the thing mentally is like, okay, don't get beat twice or get beat more than once by Alabama. And what I mean by that is, okay, where is your mental after you lose a game like that to Alabama, right? Are you down on yourself, or are you confident in yourself still? Are you going to go out there and put forth your best effort and go out there and blow out teams that you're supposed to blow out? And for Miami, they didn't. So in my eyes, they got defeated twice by Alabama because they came out lackluster against App State, or they just aren't that good.
right.
It's one of the two for me. Either they got beat twice by Miami, or they just aren't that good.
Hey, time always reveal who's playing and who's for real.
Yep.
We'll see.
Now we're gonna move along. Another game that was big. Thank goodness Pittsburgh is in the ACC, because Pittsburgh beat an SEC opponent in Tennessee. Pat Narduzzi versus Josh Heupel. This game was probably one of the most exciting games this weekend. I actually watched this game.
Yes.
The entire game it was, and it came down to the end. Kenny Pickett, quarterback for Pittsburgh, man. Kenny, I put some pressure on you coming into the season. I said, this is the year that you got to be great. Kenny Pickett, you off to a great start, young man. You are doing your thing at the quarterback position. I need to say that first. But I'll tell you, I think the stupidity in this game of Tennessee, and I just got to say it, the stupidity in Tennessee, these guys had 13 penalties for 134 yards. And Tennessee was in control of this game until one of their defenders decided, let me body slam a ball carrier. Let me body slam a ball carrier and get a personal foul. And then the very next play, Cody, they throw a double pass Pittsburgh and it gets them rolling. That's why, man, I hate dumb shit. I hate dumb shit. I hate when players do dumb shit in games, man, because stuff like that, I think, sparked Pittsburgh to get started. And Pitt in this game, they control the time of possession, 35 minutes compared to just 23 for Tennessee. But Tennessee is a fast-paced offense. But gosh, they just do some dumb stuff. Pat Narduzzi, man, and that defense showed up against the Volunteers. These guys had 5 sacks, Cody. 5 sacks, 2 fumbles, and an interception. Defense win championships. Defense win championships. That's what they say.
Hey, I think Saturday's game was a microcosm of what Tennessee has been dealing with. It was a shit show before this coach got the job, and it's still a shit show. And I feel bad for him because it's a tough situation. Like, you had numerous guys leave for transfer reasons. And like we said at the beginning, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance. And until they figure that out,
Oh man,
but
they out there playing. Listen, they got, and the crazy thing about it for Tennessee is that they had a transfer from Michigan, Joe Milton, right? He comes in. Okay, Joe Milton gets hurt, but then they got a transfer from Virginia Tech. Hendon Hooker comes in, and I think I like Hendon Hooker a little better than Joe Milton because I think he can pass the football a little better. Not saying both of them are great, but I would take Hendon Hooker over Joe Milton. I think the only reason, I mean, I don't know why Josh Heupel went with Joe Milton in the first place,
right.
but it is what it is. But I tell you this, Tennessee had a 4th and goal to try to tie this game and put it in overtime.
Yep.
You know what that defense said to Pittsburgh? Move, get out the way, get out the way, get out the way.
Curtain in them.
What?
For real. But one thing I will say about the game that's a bright spot for Tennessee and also makes me nervous with Pittsburgh moving forward is Pittsburgh's first 5 drives, they scored a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
They had 3 turnovers on defense. They had 5 sacks. Like, when you put up those numbers, the game isn't supposed to be close. It's supposed to be over with in the first half. 100%. So the fact that it was still a game to that ending that you're talking about, close to the ending, it's a bright spot for Tennessee. It lets them know that they're not that far off. If they just clean up the penalties, it's probably a completely different game. But you looking at Pitt like, man, you can't write a better script than scoring on the first 5 drives. Have you ever been a part of an offense that the first 5 drives you scored a touchdown? Each drive.
I don't think the first 5. We may have been close, but I don't think people understand how hard that is, though. Like, to score on your first 5 drives of the game, that's nothing about that is easy. nothing about that is easy whatsoever.
So be clear for the people out there that don't know how to add, that's 35 points straight. Like, that's crazy. It's hard enough to score 35 in a game, even in the college game with the incompetent coaching sometimes at the situations that they put the guys in. You know, it's still hard to score that many points. So,
and you know what I'm up here thinking about, Cody? Because if I'm not mistaken, and I think I ran to the restroom when this occurred because I came back and it was a flag. I think Tennessee had a return for a touchdown that got called back as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think Tennessee had a return for a touchdown that got called back. And that's what's crazy to me, man. That's why when coaches preach, man, okay, we want to play penalty-free football. You know what I mean? We don't want to hurt ourselves or beat ourselves. We don't want the self-inflicted wounds. Those are the things I'm talking about. Because that one penalty I mentioned earlier sparked Pittsburgh, allowed them to get a little double pass, score a touchdown, get a little momentum. And I think they had a return call back. It was just too many penalties for me. If you get penalized 13 times for 134 yards, we got some stuff we need to talk about in our meeting rooms.
It's going to be,
and it's not going to be nice.
Line it up, get on the line. There's going to be a lot of line it up, get on the line that first practice after that game, whenever it is, whether it's Monday, Tuesday. I'm not sure their schedule nowadays, but yeah, we got to run for all these because it costs us at the end of the day.
Yep. But I'm so glad, man, Pitt was able to get that win over the SEC. Told y'all, SEC ain't running everything.
Not everything. Y'all got a lot, but we trying to bounce back, man. We trying to bounce back.
And damn it, I say that, and we going into the next game. Oh, I spoke too soon. NC State let me down against Mississippi State. They lost that one 24-10. And I'll tell you this, it started off the wrong way. You cannot give up kickoff returns for touchdowns, especially not the first play of the game. NC State gave up a kickoff return at the start of the game. And that two-headed monster that we was talking about, and Zonovan Knight and Ricky Person Jr., they got held in check by Mississippi State defense.
Yeah, man.
The offense couldn't get anything going all game. They had 3 turnovers. Devin Leary had an interception. The running back, Ricky Person Jr., had an interception. NC State was 6 for 20 on third downs. And for those of you who can't add, I can add. But, I had tutors in math, but I can add. That's 30% on third downs. That is horrible. That is horrible. You cannot be 30% on third downs and expect to win the game. Now, the defense for NC State, I thought was decent, but not what I'm accustomed to seeing, because they returned Peyton Wilson, the number one tackler in the ACC last year, 2020. And I didn't hardly see him all over the field like I'm normally seeing him all over the football field. Will Rogers, the quarterback for Mississippi State, man, threw 2 touchdowns. And I was so high on NC State. And Cody, I was, because I kept talking about them the last 3 weeks. And I was so high on them, man. They went 8-4 last year. I'm saying, okay, this is a team that could possibly make some noise in the ACC and get into the rankings and boost this division up. And then they go out and put on that performance against Mississippi State.
I think the toughest thing about that game was their two-headed monster was non-existent for whatever reason. And anybody who's watched NC State knows their offense, the engine is those 2 running backs. And then on defense, what was obviously noticeable from between South Florida and Mississippi State, the throws that were open that South Florida was missing were open against Mississippi State, and that quarterback made those throws. That was the biggest difference. It was windows in both games, and one quarterback made the throws and the other one didn't. It was as simple as that. But Mississippi State's defense, that front, they was getting you talking about controlling the line of scrimmage. Man, they had some guys on the forklift.
Cody.
For real.
What we used to say, oh my Lord. Man. Hey. Man. Them boys came to play, boy.
Them boys moving.
But that's SEC football, man. That's SEC football. Them boys up front usually gonna be heavy hitters. They're gonna be heavy hitters, offensively and defensively. So you got to bring it when you play those guys. But man, hopefully NC State can regroup and get things going. Now, I want to jump to a game that I just don't even know what to say about the Florida State Seminoles. Lord have mercy. We kept talking about on this show how we waiting for Florida State to be the Florida State of old. But now they have started the season 0-2. They lost to Jacksonville State. Not only did they lose to Jacksonville State, it's the way they lost. They lost on the last play of the game because of poor tackling and guys just being lazy. Now, the quarterback for Jacksonville State actually, Cody, is a transfer from Clemson as well. And he happened, Cody, to go to my high school, Jonesboro High School, here on the south side of Atlanta. Coop is what we call him. Coop didn't have the best game, but Coop made the plays when he had to make the plays. And the story of this game for me was, though, Mackenzie Milton got an opportunity to go out there and play, but he did not show it. He did not have a good outing. It was 18 for 31, 133 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And I do love Florida State's running back, Deshaun Corbin. He had a 100-yard rushing game. But man, this Florida State team, I don't know. Maybe they got to call Dion or something. I don't know. They got to get it together.
I'm at a loss for words because the Notre Dame game, the way they played, even though they lost, you felt like they were capable of winning that game. And then the following week, scratch everything that happened in the game and let's talk about the last play. Because at the end of the day, that one single play, as simple as it was, think about it. As an offensive player, what play do y'all have in the playbook for that situation?
Hail Mary, jump ball. Like
it's that simple. And all you have to do is get the guy on the ground. And I know y'all have the athletes because I seen it last week. Against a top 10 team in the country. And for them to go out like that, to be honest with you, that hurt me more than the Clemson loss against Georgia. And I'm not even a Florida State fan because there's no way in hell they were supposed to lose, let alone lose that way, because that's a reflection of your mindset and your heart. And that goes back to what we said about them running through a wall for that coach.
But Cody, I got to bring something up because I remember this, man. So in college, Wesley Woodyard, you played with Wes. We all played with Wes in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Wesley Woodyard, right? Balled out, man. Had 200 plus in the game. Listen, I got to put that in there because hell, we lost. I got to put this in there. Man, they had somebody trying to match me, Cody, and I felt disrespected. So I said I'm gonna torch his ass all game. So I gave him 200 plus in a tub, Right. 200 plus in a tub.
Rivalry game too.
Yes.
Put that out there.
So I didn't call a Hail Mary at the end. They scored with some seconds left, a touchdown to go up. I didn't call a Hail Mary. It may have been inside to 10. So I didn't caught this thing, and I'm like, I'm about to walk in the end zone. No, sir. Well, whap! My boy Wood didn't caught me, concussed me and everything. Came out of nowhere, right? But you want to know why Wood made that tackle? It meant something to him. You know what I mean? He understood the task. Okay, if he does catch it, we got to tackle this guy before he get in the end zone. It meant something to him, Cody. He loves the game. Losing... No, he doesn't like to lose. It meant something to him.
And for the fans that don't know who Wesley Woodyard is, he's a linebacker that played double-digit years in the NFL as an undrafted player.
Was a captain every single year he played in the NFL. Every single year.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely.
But when I think about things like that and I look at that play, I'm like, man, do these guys even care? Then I see a guy like Jermaine Johnson balling out, making plays, getting sacks, getting TFLs, giving his all. Yeah, and then your guys on the back end do that? Give up that? And I don't know what Mike Norvell need to say to them guys because I'm not the coach. I know what I say if I'm the coach, but I ain't the coach. So I don't know what he need to say to him. But I go to thinking about last year, and I'm like, man, has this ship been wrecked already in Tallahassee?
Right. It can go either way. It's like you flipping a coin. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward because the talent is there. That's obvious. So is it focus? Is it heart? Is it attention to detail? Like, what is it? It's something because the talent is there. And I hope they right this ship because they have everything it takes. Like, I really think talent-wise, they can give Clemson a run for their money in the Atlantic. I really think that, just off of what I've seen from the Notre Dame game. But one thing I know about Clemson, they don't play to the level of their competition. They play to their standard, and that's what it takes to be successful. That's what Alabama does. That's what Georgia does. Those teams that are consistently in the conversation competing for national championships. It doesn't matter who they play. They're nameless great faces. They go out and approach every single game the same way. And Florida State has the talent similar to all of those schools, probably besides Alabama, because I don't think anybody has their talent. But I just would like to see them ride it because college football is better. The ACC is better when Florida State is competing for championships. I just want to let you guys know about Filter 12 Media, a brand new podcast and digital media network covering college football by the people that know it best. Brought to you by Shoot Your Shot Productions, the folks behind the Field of 68. The Filter 12 gives you insight into the game we all love by the people that have lived it. Trevor Knight and Bryce Petty covering the Big 12. Joshua Perry and Christian Hackenberger covering the Big 10. Yogi Roth and Ted Robinson on the Pac-12. And of course, we'll continue to be your go-to source on everything ACC football and more. Check the links below to find the rest of our shows. The Field of 12, where college football happens.
And Cody, I want to send a message to my young kings. You know what I mean? Yes. And my young queens in other sports. Right. When coaches are going over situational football, and I'm hoping coaches are going over situational football, pay attention. Don't use that period or those times to be jacking around and not paying attention and joking around and talking and this and this. Because if you do, things like what happened in Florida State are going to happen, right? Because I know when I played the game of football, we went over certain things in situational football. We went over, okay, like you mentioned, Cody, this how much time is on the clock. We got to throw a Hail Mary. Okay, we're going to have this person in front. We're going to have this person in the middle being the middle jumper. We're going to have this person in the back being the back jumper. Right? You know what I mean? Defensively, we used to throw tall, big receivers back there defensively to catch the ball or bat the ball down from bigger receivers coming in and catching that Hail Mary. So pay attention to situational football. Pay attention to the details, because like my special team coach told me in Atlanta, well before every accident, there's always a warning. Yeah. Before every accident, there's always a warning. I'm pretty sure there were some warnings before that happened.
I remember vividly the short time we were in Tennessee together. Every Thursday or Friday, it was Thursday because Friday was Fast Friday. Every Thursday towards the end of practice, we went over that situation as an offense, as a defense. Even if it was walk through tempo and nobody was jumping for the ball or nothing, everybody knew their assignment and what they had to do. I hope those coaches are giving them that knowledge and that repetition, even if it's as a walkthrough rep, because those reps are important. As you can see, it can decide a game, unfortunately.
Yep. Now, I'm sorry, Florida State. We got to get up off of y'all, though. We're gonna jump into two premier matchups, I think, in the ACC this week. And number one is going to be Miami versus Michigan State. And Miami is a 6.5 favorite. Total in that game is 62.5. But Miami better be careful because they have not looked good this season. And I know Mel Tucker for Michigan State is going to have these guys ready to play. Cody, I'm going to go with, man, this is hard for me. Okay. Who you going to go with, Harry? Who you going to go with in this game? Cody, I'm going to go with the Miami Hurricanes because at some point they got to get it together.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go with the Hurricanes. Who you got?
I'm going with the U, and I'm going to give them that title out of respect. They haven't showed us that, but I'm going to give them that out of respect. But I'm expecting De'Aaron King to continue to get reps and find his self, who he truly is. And that's a hell of a quarterback. Not his old self, not his new self, who he truly is to the core. He's a hell of a quarterback, and I expect him to show it. They need this one big. This is a statement game, and this could turn their season around in the right way or turn it around in the wrong way, I think. So,
all right. So we both going with Miami in that one. So the next one we have is Virginia, the Virginia Cavaliers versus North Carolina. Listen, I like what I've seen so far from UVA. Brendan Armstrong, the quarterback, I think he's playing well. Bronco Mendenhall, a guy who was not too long ago, this team was in the ACC championship, 2 years ago? He was in the ACC championship game 2 years ago. But I'm like what I'm seeing so far from Virginia, man. And I mean, they're still undefeated. So North Carolina, they're favored in this game. 8 points total in that game is 53. So North Carolina, make sure you come out to play because you already seen what happened when you went to play another school in Virginia. Virginia Tech, that was. You seen what happened week 1. So make sure you come out to play. But I'm going to go with North Carolina in this one. I think they're actually going to win by more than 8. I think the total might be more than 53 too. But I'm gonna go with UNC in that one.
I want UNC to win because of their preseason ranking, and I think it'll bode well for the ACC as a whole. But what I've seen from that Virginia secondary, like, listen, man, those corners, they not only cover, they come up and hit. I don't know what Virginia's practice schedule look like, but them boys done been involved in some team run because they with all that. And the safeties come up just the same in cover. So I'm putting the game on UVA's secondary because I think if they can keep Sam Howell in check and those receivers and create some turnovers, Virginia Tech showed that's the recipe. And Virginia got a hell of a quarterback. I like him.
Yes.
I like him.
Yes.
Hey,
look, the guys in their secondary, man, you know what we call them kind of guys? Hey, man, they got a bunch of alley cats. You know, they got some guys over there. They ain't got no little house dog over there. You know, pet the little house dog, put them a little shirt on and have them walk around with a little leash. They got some alley cats over there, boy. So people ready to meet you in that alley.
They playing some good ball in Charlottesville, man, for sure. But I think it's gonna come down to the wire. But Sam Howell's gonna need some help from them receivers. Somebody's gonna have to step up and be the guy. He needs that from him.
All right, man. I want to thank all of y'all for watching us week 4. Week 4. We're already in the door. Make sure y'all stay tuned next week, week 5 coming up. The One-on-Ones podcast with myself, Harry Douglas, and Cody Sensabaugh. Thank y'all, man. We out.